Let's start by talking about the kind of work that Eleanor did in the 1920s, where clearly she earned a reputation for working in many different spheres. Can you talk about those spheres?
Well, even before the 1920s, I'd like to go all the way back to 1903, when she starts to work at the University Settlement House. She's inspired by Lillian Wald and Jane Addams. They are her mentors, and the idea that you can do good work at a settlement house, and she teaches fancy dancing and calisthenics on the Lower East Side, and she brings her beau, FDR, to the Lower East Side to see the children and to visit them at home in the tenements. And Franklin is devastated. He's never seen such poverty, and he's never seen such overcrowding, and he's never seen housing in the kind of disrepair the tenements were indeed in, with all these children and all these families living together. And we have this word boarders, which were boards in people's kitchens and living rooms where people slept on boards. But she does fancy dancing and calisthenics and is a great teacher. And Lillian Wald is her lifelong mentor. And
does she continue?
She continues to support settlement houses. Then when she marries FDR in 1905, she is Mrs. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and very quickly he becomes Assistant Secretary of the Navy. They're back in Washington, and she supports, her very big interest there is housing. And there's a great effort to destroy the most disgusting, impoverished housing and build new housing in Washington. And Eleanor Roosevelt, that's her very first really public activity to get rid of this wretched housing and provide decent housing for poor people in Washington. At this time, she gets all involved with Esther Lape, who is her mentor, and who is running something called the American Foundation. And in the 1920s, Esther Lape and Elizabeth Reed, who's Esther Lape's partner, run this American Foundation, and they get a grant from Edward Bok to have a competition for a lot of money, the Bok Peace Prize, it's called, and they're giving money who will have the best idea to keep the peace for the future. And Eleanor Roosevelt, Narcissa Vanderlip, and Esther Lape are the leaders of this Bok Peace Prize. And they give it to the man who says the World Court and the League of Nations is the answer the United States must join, and that becomes her great work. She also begins to edit this feminist newspaper, the Women's Democratic News, to push the Democratic Party into a progressive new alignment, to move it away from the Dixiecrats and get it into a progressive orbit, and to begin to fight for the things that she cares about: decent housing, health care.
And this is while her husband is governor of New York, or even before?
Even before he's governor. But it takes off when he becomes governor. It starts when he's Assistant Secretary of the Navy.